guys are all getting devices. You guys are all getting devices that you can take home with you at the end of the day today. But I'm hoping to give you your device to help remove physical barriers in this world and help build a world that gives everyone equal opportunity, no matter what their ability. Using your device will ultimately help build a world that's more connected and help give us all more access to each other. Pretty sweet device, hey? Yeah. So here's the deal. All you need to do is sit back and let me tell you about my life. I'm also going to tell you about a really interesting project that I've got on the go that I think you're going to find to be very interesting. I'm hoping to change the way that you see things in your neighborhood, things that you might not be aware of. It's this newfound awareness that is your device. I know that with your help, we can create a movement of change that will hopefully lead to creating better physical access to community centers, restaurants, art galleries, or stages like this. So let me open your mind to a more connected world. A world that gives us all equal access to each other. I grew up in a small town north of Toronto, and while I was growing up, I loved all kinds of sports, but mountain biking was my very, very favorite sport. I was introduced to the world of mountain biking while I was working part-time at a sporting goods store. I fell in love with the sport. I graduated from the University of Waterloo in their civil engineering program. And after I graduated, I wanted to move to the very, very best place in the country to mountain bike, and that's the interior of British Columbia. So I did. I moved to the interior of BC, and it was back in October of 2002 when I was riding with a friend of mine on a trail that involved jumping a 25-foot gap. My buddy Johnny went first, and he cleared the 25-foot gap without a problem. But you know what? When I gave it a try, I wasn't as successful. I crashed. I flew over the handlebars, and I landed head first, breaking 2 vertebrae in my upper spine, causing a spinal cord injury. In a split second, my life as I had known it had changed. And I was all of a sudden introduced to a world that's not well suited for someone that uses a wheelchair. It was a long road to recovery where I worked intensively. For 6 months, I worked with spinal cord injury specialists trying to regain as much function as I could. One of the hardest things trying to adjust to my new way of life was dealing with the lack of independence and learning how to rely on others for help. After some time, though, I put together my resume and I sent it out to different engineering firms, and I got a really, really great job with an engineering firm here in Toronto, but there was one problem. The building that the office was in had 3 steps at the front. So what the company did is they bought a ramp that had to be set up every time I wanted to get in and out of the building. The ramp worked, but it was definitely not ideal because it meant I had to pull somebody away from their job to help set the ramp up. And this lack of independence and my inability to come and go as I wanted, I had to deal with that for 6 years. So for 6 years, I put up with this game of scheduling and again, the lack of independence to come and go as I wanted. So that problem, plus all of the other stepped entryways that I had come across since using a wheelchair made my frustration with this issue boil over. Nothing was being done about increasing accessibility in the city. I was even noticing that new buildings that were going up were being built with stepped entryways. I wanted people to start talking about this issue. I wanted people to start thinking about great ideas to some of these problems that are affecting so many people, not just people that use wheelchairs. When that ramp was out, parents pushing strollers wanted to use it, and delivery people wanted to use it too. I wanted restaurant owners to understand that it's not just a wheelchair user that has a problem with their stepped entryway, but it's everyone else that might be joining them that has a problem with that step as well. I enjoy going out with my friends to a restaurant, but for every restaurant that has level access, there's probably 2 or 3 restaurants that have a step. A step translates into lost business, and I began to realize that everyone is affected by a stepped entryway. So in 2011, I pulled together a bunch of volunteers and some building materials, and we built 13 brightly painted ramps for businesses in Toronto's Junction neighborhood. The goal of the project was to raise awareness about physical barriers in our built environment that prevent many people from accessing the spaces that they desire. We wanted to use bright colors to attract attention and get people talking about the value of inclusion and the need for independence, and you know what? Reinforce the human right to equal access. We wanted to use bright colors to add a fun and playful element to the project to try to remove some of that institutional feel that often comes with a barrier-free element like a stainless steel grab bar in a bathroom. And why not have fun? Tackling a really serious issue. The StopGap initiative was born. Since launching the project in Toronto's Junction neighborhood, we've brought the project to different neighborhoods here in the city, and we've learned about the wide range of awareness that exists surrounding inaccessible spaces. I recently approached a business owner about getting a ramp, and you know what their response was? It was no. We don't want a ramp because we don't have any customers here that use wheelchairs. Think about that one for a second. Another business owner responded, we don't want a ramp because we can just bring stuff out if somebody wants to see it. But I get it. These responses just stem from a lack of awareness, and some people just need a little bit more help becoming aware. It's that response just it kills me. Because it happens all the time. But you know what's happening? Business owners that were originally opposed to getting a ramp are now reaching back out to us because their customers are demanding that they get one. And you know what? This just reinforces that a simple, brightly painted ramp can raise awareness and can change your mind about how you may have viewed things in your neighborhood. So since those first few projects that we took on here in the city, we had to bring it to different parts of Toronto, and suddenly different groups of people from other parts of the country were hearing about our ramps through different news outlets and social media posts. You know what's really neat about these ramps, though, is that all of the skill set and the building materials needed to build these ramps exist in every community across the country. So we put together an instruction manual to help guide interested groups into taking a ramp project of their own. And so we've made this guide and the other resources available on our website for free, as a free download that anybody can grab. And consequently, we're seeing ramp projects pop up all across the country, from Charlottetown and Halifax on the East Coast to Vancouver and Prince George on the West Coast. So now we've got 800 ramps out there from coast to coast. Yeah. But you know what? These ramps, they're not perfect. They're a stopgap solution to the single-stepped issue. Unfortunately, existing bylaws prevent ramps like ours from sitting out on the sidewalk on a full-time basis. So business owners have to use the ramps whenever they're needed. I moved into the building that I live in, and unfortunately, the front doors did not have an automatic opener. So I had to wait for someone coming in and out of the building to help hold the door open for me. And I remember waiting outside and watching all kinds of people struggle with those doors as they were carrying groceries or trying to push their children in strollers in and out of the building. But eventually, the building owners installed an automatic opener, and now everybody uses that button. Everybody uses it. That just, to me, reinforces how elements like this can make life easier for all of us. So in the 1970s, the early 1970s, let's go way back when in this space Electric Dance Circus was happening, intersections did not have curb cuts to allow a wheelchair user to cross the street. Can you imagine not being able to get off the sidewalk in front of your house? These days, we don't even notice that curbs are cut at intersections. And it's this type of invisibility that we'd like to see one day when it comes to solving single-step storefront problems and other issues that affect so many people, that affect all of us. We don't have to look very far to find other examples of great designs that make life easier for everyone. We don't have to look very far at all. Great designs of solutions that make life easier for all of us are right in front of our eyes, literally right in front of our eyes. Much like how my wheelchair helps me with my mobility, glasses help many of us see clearly. Your electric toothbrush was originally designed to help people with limited use of their hands. Flat panel light switches instead of toggle switches, and door levers instead of twisting knobs are other amazing examples that are just a part of our everyday lives. Now, you might be wondering why a curb cut or an automatic opener or a wheelchair is important to you. That's fair. I didn't think that they were important to me before I actually needed to rely on them. But you know what? At some point in our lives, we're all going to need to rely on some form of barrier-free amenity. At some point in our lives, our ability to move around will change, whether it's due to injury or illness or simply old age. So we need to make sure that our communities are designed so that no matter what our ability, we're able to navigate our communities with maximum independence. Fair? To me, independence is empowerment. To me, independence is empowerment. But you know what else I find to be equally as empowering? To use the proper language when it comes to referring to people with disabilities. It's so simple. We can empower people simply by using language that encourages instead of discourages. Using people-first language, the person becomes the important element and not the disability. We're all familiar with the image on the left, but check out the image on the right. And notice how your eye is drawn to the person and not the wheelchair. The same empowering effect is possible using people-first language. I'm not a wheelchair person, but I'm a person that uses a wheelchair. It's pretty amazing, hey? So effective. We all have different abilities. We all have different ways of living. We all have different ways of doing things. I believe that it's not us that have disabilities, but it's the places that we live, work, play, and speak in front of audiences that are disabled. Imagine a more connected world. Imagine a world where all of us have equal access to each other. Imagine a world where there are no physical barriers that prevent us from gaining access to the spaces that we desire. Can you imagine that? Can you see a world like that? Who can see it? Yeah. Who can see a world like that? Yeah? Yeah? Yeah! Well, you know what? Congratulations. You've just received your device. Yeah. The world is now counting on you to use your new awareness. So go and have fun making this world a better place. Thank you.